there, it's Amy Schmidt, your host of the Fearlessly Facing 50 and Beyond podcast. I am so happy that you have chosen to spend time with me. As a reinvention confidence expert, along with a storyteller, I've shared quite a few things along this journey. But what I've found is the most important info to share are stories. Stories of amazing people, ordinary people, extraordinary people, doing things that are going to inspire you to action. So come and join me in this space because you're going to be inspired. Let's get started. It's our time. Hey, it's Amy, and I'm so excited to be back behind the mic here at Fearlessly Facing 50 and Beyond podcast. Thanks so much for joining in every episode. I assure you we'll bring you inspiration, we'll bring you encouragement, we'll challenge you, and that's really why I do what I do. You know, for those of you that are fellow podcasters out there that are listening, you know that putting a podcast together is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's not just, getting the guests and recording and sending it out. There is so much more that happens to actually get these episodes to you. So I'm excited to be bringing you some really quality content, some stories of inspiration, some people that have been on my journey that I want to introduce you to, and really give you a little glimpse into what I feel is bringing greatness into my life. Life is a tough sport. I know you hear that often and a lot of people say it, but it is. And I think as women especially, we go through a variety of transitions in our lives. We go through so many different stages of reinvention and transitioning from one thing to the next. And sometimes we have to just sit back and put pause on things that may not be bringing us joy or excitement or encouraging us in the way we want to. So this first series that I'm launching on the podcast is about surrounding yourself with greatness. If you listen to my solo cast, which was sent out, I believe, about a week ago, you will hear a little bit about just my monologue on how I think it's important and valuable to surround yourself with people that deposit into your tank. One of the most important human needs is connection and a sense of belonging. People need people, and it really is that simple. And I think at times we have to sit back and ask ourselves, what do we bring to the table? What's the driving force in some of our current relationships? And take an inventory of that. Those are the things I want you to think about when you listen to this series and you really evaluate those people who you're moving through the world with. Because you know what? Life is a tough sport, and we've got to enjoy every moment of it. Every transition, every reinvention, every challenge, every success. So that's what this series is about. Before I get to my incredible first guest in this series, who you are going to love and be introduced to, I wanted just to share where you can follow me and learn more about what I'm doing. So fearlesslyfacing50.com, 50 is always spelled out as my website. Thanks to my incredible wizard behind the scenes in my website, Lauren has done an amazing job of bringing some new vision to the website, updating it. I launched that website back in 2019, and it was time for a little refresh. And so she sat down with me and we put together something I think is adding a lot of value. It's going to be continuing to change and evolve and adding things. I'm going to be adding some courses there that you're going to be able to take, which I'm super excited about. All of the podcasts will be listed there. There's also some ways that you can get involved with the Fearlessly Facing 50 community, which I am super excited about, because what's most important to me and what really drives me at this age and stage of my life is making connection with people and inspiring them to action in some way. And of course, the most important part is building community, no matter where we are in this world, no matter where we are on our journey. So go ahead and check out the website. You can also find my new Instagram, which is Fearlessly Facing 50. So 50 is spelled out. You can go ahead and follow me there. It was funny. I did a little live a couple of weeks ago about kind of my social media. And, it's an ongoing tech struggle for me. I have to be honest. Sometimes I feel as though it's a bit of a time drain, although there is value in making those connections. So I have to weigh it all out. But I was finding that my original Instagram really wasn't reaching the people. I was getting followers that I don't really think were that engaged or really interested in my content. So I'm going to be starting Fearlessly Facing 50, a very hyper-targeted Instagram where my content will be, where you can engage with me, and it's really followers that are interested in what I'm sharing, and that's what I hope that will bring. You can follow me on Fearlessly Facing 50. Once again, 50 spelled out on Facebook. There's also a great community group there, and that is linked to Fearlessly Facing 50, and it's under my Better Than Gossip brand, which I co-found with Kristen Cofield. So we have that there as well. There's a lot of things going on. So between Fearlessly Facing 50 and Better Than Gossip, you will have the information that you want and need to be inspired. So go ahead and check that all out. I'm starting to get my Twitter up, I think, a little bit. And of course, I have a LinkedIn, but I just don't have enough hours in the day. So if there's somebody out there listening that can say, Amy, I can help you with that, then shoot me an email, amy@fearlesslyfacing50.com, and I am open to suggestions because there just aren't enough hours in the day to reach everybody I want to. So without further ado, I am going to bring today's guest on, and I am so very excited about this. During the summer, I was able to take a hiatus. I feel very grateful that I was able to do that, and I was able to really observe instead of lead. When you start really observing, you find incredible things happening around you that you may have never seen. So I'm not going to share how this particular guest came to be on the podcast, as you will hear in this incredible episode, but I want to introduce you to Ann Teget. Ann is a native Midwesterner, an empty nester, and co-creator of the award-winning travel and lifestyle blog called postcardjar.com, which will be linked to the episode notes. Along with her husband, Steve, she enthusiastically shares authentic stories about food, travel, and healthy living. Her blog and real-life experiences inspire others to live and travel well. So without further ado, I am going to bring on this incredible human that I was able to meet, and I want to share her greatness with you. So let's get this party started. Welcome, Ann Teget. Well, welcome to Fearlessly Facing 50 and beyond. So excited for this interview today. And I'm not even going to spill the beans yet, but this series that's dropping right now on the podcast is really people that have inspired me, have sparked my curiosity, have made me say, this is a person I want to get to know. And that's why I'm sharing this special guest with you today, because I think as women, especially, sometimes we go through life and we forget to really just be. And sometimes we just go from thing to thing to thing, and we don't really observe what's around us. So that's really what this series is about. And I'm so excited to welcome to the show today, Ann Teget. Ann, I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you for having me.
And she was just on the cover of a magazine, but we'll talk about that later. That's a little teaser for later. You're going to have to listen to the end to hear about that. But Ann, I am just so happy you're here. And I remember, I want to tell you, and I didn't know if I had shared this with you before, but the nice thing about the people that follow me, I always want to give them a shout out because I feel like they are very authentic, and they're also very courageous in a lot of ways because they really do reach out with questions, things that they've heard maybe me say or heard a guest say, and they follow through. So you didn't know this, Ann, but about 2 months ago, I think it was 2 months ago, a woman by the name of Sarah Bruddock lives in Nebraska. Okay. She knows of you, has followed you, and you may not even know that. And she sent me a lovely email that said, I know you interview a lot of people, and I know you love telling stories, and I really am interested in sharing this journey because I have followed her. That's like a goosebump for me because that's what this is about. And that's, I think, why you do what you do and what I do. Mm-hmm. And when you touch the heart of somebody and then that person reaches out to somebody else and says, you should really talk to her. It was intriguing to me. So it took me a couple months to get there, but I followed up and I have been following Ann and what she has been doing, not only solo in her life on her journey, but with her husband as well, which we're going to dig into. So I wanted to give that to you before we started today. And Ann, I'm just happy you're here. And I can't wait to learn more about you.
I had no idea that, in this world of blogging and social media influencing, oftentimes you just wonder, is my message reaching anyone?
Yeah.
Is it really inspiring somebody? Is it impacting their day-to-day life? And so to hear that it was touching to someone is just amazing. Thank you
I
for
love
sharing
that. Yeah. So that's your gift today. And I really want to talk to you for a couple of things. One, launching a business and launching it really with your husband and writing. And, from what I've read, you're very authentic. And that's what appeals to me. You're a Midwest person. I'm born and raised Wisconsin. You're authentic. You're true. And we have lost sight of those people in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So what really was your impotence for launching what you did?
Well, I had really worked for the last 25 years, really working my way up the corporate ladder in public public relations and communications, and then was a lobbyist and worked in government relations. And about 9 years ago, I got very, very sick, and I had to leave my career, which was really the focus of everything I was doing. And it gave me the opportunity to sit back and say, what do I really want to do with my life? And if I don't have as long to live as I maybe think I do, the way you think you do when you're young, how do I want to spend that? Ultimately, I had 5 surgeries in 17 months and needed something to just keep my mind going and to help bring a little joy into what was a really difficult time. We talked about starting a blog, my husband and I, about our travels, because people knew we loved to travel and would often ask us questions. So we decided to launch our blog called postcardjar.com. And it was just something that I did to, use my creative writing skills and share authentic stories about travel.
Yeah.
And it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah. Did you feel that was a little therapeutic for you?
Completely therapeutic. It gave me an opportunity to take something that I loved, traveling, meeting new people, experiencing different cultures or areas of our country, and putting it all down on paper. So every time I wrote a sentence or edited a photograph, it was a reminder of the joy that those experiences brought to me. And I just absolutely loved sharing it with other people.
You did. And you were brave to do that because, sometimes you share those things. And like you said at the beginning, is anybody listening? Is anybody watching? Is anybody reading? Is there any value that I'm giving people? And you are.
Well, at the beginning, nobody was reading it, to be honest.
It takes a while, right?
It was difficult and it took a while, but then you start realizing you're getting more feedback and people are actually going to the places you talk about. Early on, we had a wonderful travel experience in North Dakota, often the 50th state people visit. I don't know why, because it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, just sharing reasons that you need to go to North Dakota. And then people would write to us and say, we just got back from vacation in North Dakota. Loved it. Thank you for sharing.
Isn't that
it was
amazing?
Just amazing to me.
Yeah. Those connections. And we thrive on community. I mean, people need people. We need that sense of connection and belonging. And it's so important. So let's talk about, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we need connection with people. And I think when I left my office job and I had a team of people I worked with, or I had mentors that were even in different parts of the country within our corporation, I missed the connection. And I very quickly realized that people I meet online, people who read our content or comment, there are people behind every account. And we can be friends online. Online friendships are real friendships.
Right.
So it really did give me an incredible sense of connection that I never had.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So let's talk about your husband, because this is pretty interesting that, and a shout out to Steve. He actually listened to a couple of my podcasts and God bless him for that, because, most men probably are like, oh, what is this about? We're talking about menopause or we're talking about this, but I'm so happy he did. What was that conversation like? What really started that to say, let's do this together?
It was something that we quickly realized when we met and started dating that we had in common was our love for trying new things, for traveling, for learning. It was something that was just an immediate connection for us. So to take my background in journalism and photography and his knowledge of, just travel and planning travel, it was just such a good thing for us to come together and do together. And at first we were writing the blog. I was home during the day and was working on this when I felt well enough to do that. He was a middle school principal. So when we started getting calls from destinations to say, we'd love to have you come to Clear Lake, Iowa and write about the kite festival.
Yeah.
I'd say, I'm sorry, but we can't come. My husband has a 7th grade girls volleyball match that weekend, So eventually we decided to just take a leap of faith, and he left public education a few years ago. And now we do this full time.
Wow. What's been the biggest challenge around it of working together?
Working together has honestly not been a challenge. We're together almost 24 hours a day.
That's amazing.
We love it. And we love it. We don't get tired of one another. We each have our own individual lives. Steve went to breakfast with a friend this morning. I've gone on places without him. We're not tied at the hip or anything, but we honestly enjoy being together. We were older than most people when we met each other and were married. We were 38 and 42 when both of us were married for the first time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think we kind of knew what we wanted in a spouse, and we definitely found it. And we really clicked together. We enjoy our time together.
That's amazing. I love to hear that, because I think at this phase of life too, at this stage and at the age we are, sometimes that becomes a challenge. It really does. So finding joy in each other and really supporting. Has there ever been a time when you're like, I can't, I don't want to write about that? Have you ever had I'm sure there's been disagreements, but have you had content issues or anything that's been where you just disagree?
The only thing we really disagree on is I like to work an article or a photo or a layout to death. And if it were up to me, I would never hit the publish button. So even yesterday, we published a new blog post, and I wrote it a week ago. We worked on it. We'd edited, we'd proofread, and I still have a hard time. I still have a hard time booking a trip, hitting the publish button, sending the message. So he's often the person that when he knows it's ready to go, he'll just come over and hit publish.
He does it. I love it. That's perfect. That's the perfect combination. That's why it works. That's why it works.
Yeah.
So let's transition to health for a little bit, because we actually, ironically, are the same age. You've been very, very transparent about your health journey, about weight loss, about you share soup recipes, which funny thing, a girlfriend and I here are going to start doing soup Tuesdays. I think it's Tuesdays we're going to do. We're going to use some of those recipes. Let's talk about that, because it's a very personal thing, but it's also something that so many women struggle with, trying to eat right, to be healthy, to continue to be confident, because it's a slippery slope, I think. Mm-hmm. And you reach certain stages in your life and all of a sudden your blood pressure spikes. Or, wow, your cholesterol's through the roof. And then you kind of continue on that trajectory, because it's very hard to get to the side of it, to just run off that treadmill. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about your wellness journey and what really prompted you and how you're staying committed to it.
I think what prompted me is I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
I struggled with weight most of my life, from about age 16 through my college years, through my young adult years. I became a single mom at 24. And it was just, I was able to accomplish a lot of things in my life, but my weight and my overall wellness, it seemed impossible to me. Yeah. And the more impossible it got, the work, I would feed those emotions or those feelings of guilt, those feelings of failure. I'd feed them food and I would just wallow in self-pity. And eventually my weight became so out of control. And when I got sick 9 years ago and was on high doses of steroids, I was on steroids for 8 years. Wow. Just up until this last January, I gained a lot of weight. And all of a sudden I looked in the mirror and I got on the scale and I was 303 pounds and I'm 5'3".
Yeah.
And I just said, enough is enough. Like, I have to do something. I don't feel well. I can't. I shouldn't say I can't. It was very difficult to live the life that I really wanted to live.
Mm-hmm.
I think a real turning point for me was when we went on what was my top bucket list destination, was Greece.
Wow.
And I had dreamt about this from the time I was a teenager. And we finally got to Greece, and we were going to the Acropolis. And I'd envisioned what this experience would be like, or climbing the steps at Santorini and the beautiful pictures. And we got there and I could barely get up to the top of the Acropolis. And it was difficult, and I was sweating, and everybody was moving so quickly, and I was slow that I never even had a chance to sort of look back or take in the view and really feel the experience. And that it was time to leave. And I just remember thinking to myself, this wasn't what I dreamt about. Mm-hmm. And the body that I'm in is not allowing me to experience the things I want to experience. And there has to be a change.
Yeah. Wow. That's an incredible moment, and so relatable to so many.
Yeah.
So
it really had nothing to do with the size of jeans that I wear, what I look like in pictures, or what somebody thought. At 50, I started, I don't care anymore.
Exactly. I know. I mean, yeah.
I felt like I spent my 20s and 30s trying to be the person I thought people wanted me to be. And then, 40s, you're starting to figure it out. But 50, it's like, I want to do it for me. And I wanted to do it because there were things that I wanted to experience that were really difficult to do in the body that I was in.
Yeah.
And so our daughter, who was a nurse, came home for a weekend, and she was also, trying to do something about her health and just try and eat healthy. And so she let us know on the phone, I'm coming home for the weekend, and I'm really trying to eat healthy. So don't make the meatloaf and mashed potatoes, that you usually make when I come home. And so I told my husband, let's get some healthy food in the house. We're going to go buy produce, and we're going to eat healthy for the weekend. And then we can go back.
Yeah, she's home. We're doing it for the weekend. Yeah.
And we did it for the weekend. And I just thought to myself, gosh, this wasn't horrible. Like, we need to do this. Like,
it wasn't horrible.
Longer than 2 days.
Yeah.
And so we just started looking for, a program, a diet, an app, what could we do to sort of figure out how to do this? Because really, we didn't know. We didn't know how to do it. We needed
support. Yeah.
We tried every fad diet. We've eaten the boxed food. We've gone to the meetings. We tried a lot of things, and we really wanted to lose weight, but we also wanted it to fit our lifestyle and to still be able to travel. I didn't want a diet or a weight loss program where I couldn't have bread or I couldn't drink wine. I mean, what kind of life is that?
I'm right there with you. I know. Exactly. And you said we. So that's you and your husband.
Yes, he had also reached his peak weight and he wanted to lose about 70 pounds. So we really felt, it really wasn't going to work if I tried to lose weight and eat healthy, and he was sitting on the other side of the table eating, fried chicken and gravy.
Yeah.
So we decided
to do it
together, which was huge.
Yeah. And that transformation, I similar story in that I was noticing changes in my health when I would go to the doctor, and the scale would be, oh, wow, she gained another, okay. And at first it was, we had lived abroad. I'd lost my parents. There were a whole bunch of things, factors that I kept kind of saying, oh, but that's okay. It'll get better. I'm going to start eating better. And when I made that switch too, recently, just to eating healthier foods, I can't believe the difference. And it was amazing. My joints weren't sore. My heart wasn't racing. Inflammation, which has been the biggest for me that I have noticed, is like my feet really weren't getting bigger. It was just inflammation. which is
Mm-hmm.
frightening.
Yes. And I realized that I had this inflammatory issue with my heart. I had Crohn's disease. I have severe arthritis. And so I had a lot of health issues going against me. But I also realized that there were things that were in my control. I had so many things out of my control with my immune issues that I was going to take control of the things that I could control.
Right.
And I control how much I move. I control what I put in my mouth. And I just had to really figure out that I could do it.
Yeah. And you could feel so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Feel so much better. I mean, you're moving every day. I think it was just yesterday. Didn't you post something about out there walking?
Every day. Yeah. I don't do, my joints have limited me a bit, but I do walk. And I incorporate more movement into my day throughout the day. I don't go to a gym. I don't have a specific routine. But one of the best pieces of advice concerning movement that I've ever received was when I went through the Mayo Clinic's Healthy Living Program. Yeah, I believe it was Dr. James Devine, who said, don't sit when you can stand and don't stand when you can move. So from the day that I heard that message, I don't sit in waiting rooms anymore. I stand, I move. I even got my local hospital to put in, cocktail tables in the waiting room to encourage more people to stand.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so
because
great.
If you just stand and move more throughout the day, research has shown that it has the same impact as that hour at the gym. Right. I find that if I just mentally focus my habits and behaviors on moving more and throughout the day, I get my steps in.
You get your steps in. So for women listening right now this is resonating. People are saying, wow, whether it's they want to start a business, they want to start a blog, and they want to start a wellness journey, but those things have stopped them on the rungs of the ladder up to the high dive is what I always talk about, cannonballing with confidence. Fear is set in, procrastination, perfectionism. I mean, they don't want to, they're not ready because it's not perfect. You've done so many things and you've had to push play, not pause. You've had to push play. What advice would you give them that are listening?
Just do something.
Just do something.
Yeah. My weight loss was very slow. I lost 130 pounds. My weight kind of teeters between 123 pounds lost and 130. I stay right in the 170s. But I would say it took me 2.5 years to do it. I didn't lose it quickly. I lost on average about 1.1 pounds a week, but I did it for 120 weeks.
Right.
And so I think don't put time limits on yourself. I think the more you can change your behaviors and habits, the better success you will have and the better opportunity you will have to keep it off. Mm-hmm. When I started doing weight loss, I decided for the first 9 months from March until the end of the year, I was only going to focus on food. Movement, I didn't even talk about it. If I got 2,000 steps a day, it was a lot because I knew research had shown that 90% of weight loss is what you eat. Mm-hmm. So I really focused on what I put in my mouth, and it was very small steps. And eventually, I just developed habits. I did the same with movement. When I decided to incorporate more movement into my routine, I started walking about 10 minutes a day because I'd never exercised before. Right. I joined a gym and I go every day, but I do it for 3 weeks and then I quit and I never go back.
Yep.
So I decided I'm going to do something sustainable, something I can do anywhere I am, whether I'm traveling or at home. And so I just started walking. And so every night after dinner, I would walk from my house to the next cul-de-sac and home. And it was about 10 minutes. But I did that 4 to 5 days a week for about 3 weeks. And after 3 weeks, it really became habit. The minute the dishes were done, I was out the door. And so after I did that, then I started going to the next cul-de-sac. And I did two little circles and back home. And I did that for 3 weeks. And then when that became habit, then it was too long after dinner. I didn't want to walk for half an hour after dinner. So I started doing it in the morning, and it became a part of my morning routine. And I just kept adding to it. And now I walk 3 to 5 miles, 3 to 5 days a week.
Amazing. Amazing. And it's
habit.
It's habit.
It's not, am I going to walk today? It's when am I going to walk? I check the weather. Is it, I like to walk when it's above, 30 degrees is, optimal.
Optimal. Yes, exactly. But
Less 90.
It's making those habits and sticking true and staying true to those habits, which is so important for us because as women, we're a lot of things to a lot of people. And, sometimes our needs get really, really, down to the bottom of the list, but we don't have to be the priority every day, but we have to make the list every day. And we have to invest that time in us just as a gift to ourselves for loving ourselves. It's so fabulous to be in this world and be able to wake up every day and put our feet on the ground. It's a wonderful gift. So I hope you're listening. Yeah.
I ask women many times, and I also, when they ask me for advice, I say, do one thing today that helps your physical body. Maybe that's drinking more water. Maybe that's getting an extra hour of sleep. Maybe that's choosing an apple with your sandwich instead of a bag of potato chips. But every day, think of things that you can do that are going to help your body thrive.
That's the greatest soundbite right there. That's perfect. I'm going to ask you just 2 more things before we wrap it up today. One, I wanted to let everybody know that everything will be linked to the show notes. So there'll be links there for you can go ahead and follow the website. You can get is it 3 recipes, 3 soup recipes? I'm signing up for that.
Yes, we're giving 3 free soup recipes. And I'll let your listeners know, even before our readers, that we are going to be we're going to be publishing a e-recipe book with 12 low-calorie recipes. They are all 130 calories or less per cup.
Wow. Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So that'll be linked as well. That's fantastic. And I love that. And this is why we were supposed to meet. This is why the story is supposed to be shared, because it's authentic. It's a real person sharing her real journey, and sharing that advice with others. And that's what does it. That's what does it. Can you hold up? I know for people that are listening, you won't be able to see it, but the magazine cover, that's pretty exciting.
It's very weird, to be honest.
I know. I want to ask you,
weird.
Your mom, I believe, if I'm getting it right, please correct me if I'm wrong, went and got a copy. And I'm curious about that because I know mothers and daughters relationships are special. Your mom has been witness to a transformation in your life. And I bet she just stands back and is so freaking proud. But, what has she told you? And I hope I'm not getting too personal, but is there something that stands out that she's just pulled you aside and said, Ann, I'm proud of you?
I just think, she's very eager to tell other people, especially. I think when she found the magazine, she was in the Fresno, California airport. And I think she told me she went up to the gate agent and was like, this is my daughter.
I love it.
So I think that's a great thing. I think my mom's proud of me. My husband's proud of me. But one thing I have to remember, the most important thing is that I'm proud of myself. And for my daughter, I think as children, my daughter always looked up to me and wanted my approval and wanted me to be proud of her. And I am incredibly proud of the woman she's become. She's a cardiac ICU nurse and has accomplished all kinds of wonderful things. But what I really want for her is I want her to be proud of herself. And at the end of the day, I'm proud of me.
Yeah, as you should be. As you should be. Oh, I love that. And last question before we close today is, if you were sitting on the couch and you looked over and there is Ann at 30, what advice would you give her?
I think I would tell her to not be so hard on herself, to give herself some grace, and to develop habits, behaviors, and relationships that make her better.
It's fabulous. I love it. Thank you, Ann. You're amazing. I'm so glad that I got connected to you. And I love the way the connection was made. And I love your authentic voice and story. And everybody that's listening, go follow, go subscribe, go whatever you need to do, and get in touch with Ann, because I'm sure a lot like me, hey, we're both Midwestern women. She loves connections. So,
Best.
Yep, it's the best. So thank you so much. You're
My
part
pleasure.
of our season of inspiration, and you knocked it out of the ballpark. So thank you.
Oh, I'm honored. I'm really honored. Thank you.
See you soon. Okay, so I hope that this episode inspired you, encouraged you, and challenged you. Because when we share our stories, they're inspiring. You know what? It's important for people to connect. Connection is key. People need people. So as you go forward this week or today, be a difference maker, be a change maker, not only in your life, but in somebody else's. Reach out with a text, an email, or a phone call. Connection is key. It builds community and it builds confidence. Go forth and be awesome, and I'll see you soon.